LittleBigPlanet was released 10 years ago. Dang. Has it really been that long? Guess I should finish that LittleBigPlanet review marathon, huh? How long has it been? Wait, September 27th, 2016? 2 freaking years? At this point, I should just restart the whole thing. And, it hasn't aged very well in some respects. Yeah, definitely restarting this whole thing. Hello everyone, blueblur98 with 75% less disembodied voice here, and it's time to take care of some unfinished business. If you remember back in 2016, I intended to start a review marathon of the LittleBigPlanet series, and only reviewed the first game in the series. With said first game now being an entire decade old, I thought it'd be a fine excuse to revive this concept. So, let's start off from humble beginnings with the first game in the series. Today we're reviewing LittleBigPlanet. Okay, this segment's gonna be really quick. The story in LittleBigPlanet is more or less non-existent. It's not entirely invisible, but it's heavily obscured unless you pay really close attention to what's going on. Basically, this guy, the collector, is stealing all of the curators, the people that make all the world to go through. Why? Because he has no friends. Buddy, pal, that's not a good way to get people to like you. You don't just kidnap people and force them to be your best friend. That's not how that works. That's not how anything works! Anyway, you track him down and beat him. After which he explains why he... borrowed everyone, and the king just comes out of nowhere and all like, everyone's your friend, and the game's a thing. Yeah, the plot in this game is pretty bad. It could have been interesting if it was, well, properly developed, but alas, it wasn't meant to be. Yes, I just complained about the story in an E-rated game. You know, for a game this old, it holds up pretty well graphically nowadays. There are a few noticeable jagged edges and low poly modeled here and there, but there are also some very nice visual effects here. I especially like the way fire looks in this game. That's some really good stuff. The materials also look detailed and somewhat realistic at times. It runs at 720p resolution and at 30 frames per second. That would be meh for a modern game for a lot of people, but I can deal with 720-30. Your mileage may vary with this game. The sound does the job well. The sound effects are fitting to the actions on the screen. Score bubbles make a popping sound that increases with every sequential bubble you collect. Prize bubbles play sound effects that correspond to the item type you just picked up. Stickers sound suitably, well, sticky, and most of the sound effects are pretty easy on the ears and pleasing to listen to. The real highlight of this game's sound design is the soundtrack. The LittleBigPlanet series has always taken a unique approach to its soundtracks. Not only are there some songs created specifically for the game, but they also license out some pre-existing music from other bands and music artists for use in the game. And it still feels like all of these tracks all fit in the same game. The original tracks are pretty stellar. They all fit the locations they are made for and are just generally memorable music on their own. The interactive aspect of the music also gives the tracks more depth, as, when used right, can add to the atmosphere of the level with the track building up as you progress through the level. Very good stuff all around. Now it's about time we dive into the most important aspect of any game. A game can have great sound and fantastic graphics, but still royally mess up the gameplay. So, how does the game play? LittleBigPlanet, at its core, is a 2.5D side-scrolling platformer. What's 2.5D, you may ask? Well, the term has been used for years, so I don't know how you know about it by now, but the game plays like a traditional linear 2D platformer, but makes use of the 3D space it's in. Sackboy can not only move from left to right, but also in and out of the background with a flick of the left stick up or down, adding more of a sense of depth to the gameplay. You get from point A to B, dodging or taking care of various obstacles and enemies impeding your progress. Sackboy's controls are responsive and feel nice, but I feel that he's a tad too floaty. It doesn't feel like Sackboy has all that much weight to him. I wish he was a bit heavier, but other than that, they feel great. Along the way, you'll be collecting score bubbles to get more points, and to prize bubbles to get various goodies. Collecting multiple bubbles in a short period of time also rewards the player with multipliers, multiplying the amount of points from the bubbles you just collected in total and adding all those points to your total score. Players can also customize their character using materials, clothing items, and more obtained through the aforementioned prize bubbles. There's a lot of stuff you can do with this system, especially when stickers and decorations are involved. Players also have access to a wide range of expressions, all mapped to the D-pad. They each convey a different move, and they all have 3 levels of expressiveness each. Sackboy is a very expressive character, and I really love that about him. You can also tilt the controller to look around, or click in the left stick to move your pelvis, and hold L2 and R2 to move your arms around with the left and right sticks respectively. This is a good segue into the game's main defining feature, the level creation. Prize bubbles also contain objects and craft materials for you to use to create your own levels. After you get through all the tutorials, the surprisingly robust level creator is yours to use. It's surprisingly intuitive too. Placing stuff is easy, undo and redo features are mapped to the D-pad, and saving options are easily accessible through the pause menu. It's pretty easy to create levels and even easier to publish them. The game has a few ways to play it. There's the developer-made levels in story mode, the aforementioned create mode, and levels other players have created. The 24 main story levels are well designed and fun, but the whole thing can be finished in a paltry 2 to 4 hours. You get a lot more longevity trying to collect all the prize bubbles, bonus levels, and trophies though. If you thought the story mode wasn't long enough for you, the community section is right up your alley. If you're connected to the internet, you'll be able to publish and play created levels over the PlayStation Network. This is where most of your time will undoubtedly be spent in the game. There's millions of levels in this game alone, so there is no end to the fresh, new content you'll be able to play. There are ways to find exactly what you want, like a text search, searching by tag, and going to Team Picks, which are the levels developers chose to highlight. If you see that pink ribbon around a level, I can guarantee you're probably in for a pretty good time. You can also jump directly into a random community level with quick play, sometimes with online players, but you often get dropped into weird levels that seem to have no meaning. So I suggest simply looking for levels on their own unless you really want to play online, and even then there's a button to do that. The only real problem with the community levels is that, depending on the complexity of the level, load times can be pretty lengthy. Overall, LittleBigPlanet is a fun game. The controls, while feeling a bit too floaty for my taste at times, are tight and responsive, and the core gameplay itself is pretty enjoyable. In summary, the first LittleBigPlanet game is a pretty good start to the series. The gameplay is fun, the story levels are well designed, and there's a nearly unlimited amount of content thanks to the community. It's not perfect though. Community level load times can be rather lengthy, and the story, or lack thereof, is pretty bad. However, LittleBigPlanet at its core is a very enjoyable, very charming, and a very innovative game that I recommend to anyone in a heartbeat. If you own a PS3 and enjoy platformers, you really shouldn't pass this up, and that's why I'm giving LittleBigPlanet a 9 out of 10 and a silver award. This game really is fantastic, and you should absolutely give it a shot. So that was my review of LittleBigPlanet. I haven't done a standalone game review in about a whole year now, so I really did hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, consider liking the video and subscribing with notifications on to see future videos when they get published. That's assuming you haven't already. That's all for this review of LittleBigPlanet 1. See you next time in the LittleBigPlanet Marathon with LittleBigPlanet 2, hopefully sooner than 2 years from now. This has been blueblur98, signing off. Goodbye!